In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Brian Fry, Chad Robinson, Dustin Melbartis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome all you lords, ladies and knights, to the Retro Movie Roundtable. Welcome to the show where we watch movies and then talk about them. I am your host, Russell Guest, and joining me today is my good friend and co-host from right here in the Steel City, Mr. Chad Robinson. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well this evening.
All right. I am excited, Chad. Do you know why?
Crossover guest time?
It is crossover first guest time, coming to you from the Gutting the Sacred Cow podcast. He is a stand-up comedian and the kind of movie-loving fan we love to have on this show. It is our special guest, Mr. Kevin Gootee.
Guten Tag, fellas. Wie geht's? Sehr good? Oh, perfect. Glad to hear. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Our German audience just doubled. We appreciate that. So,
Jawohl.
Yeah, not much. That much after that I can get into. That's just the basic stuff that I learned in German 101, and to make sure I was able to pass because I took a pass-fail and graduate on time.
Oh, das ist gut. So,
Wunderbar.
Yes. So, Kevin, you are a comedian, and what is your big screen comedian who you most admire, respect, and maybe has even shaped and influenced your sense of humor the most?
It's a two-pronged attack, and it's going to tie into tonight's episode perfectly. I will say it is Dave Attell is 1A, and Rodney Dangerfield is 1B, and I will say Daniel Tosh would be number 2, Chris Rock 3.
Ranking. I love a good countdown, so much appreciated on that one. You're speaking my language. Turns out Rodney Dangerfield does get his respect on this show. So now, what is the last movie you saw, Kevin?
I watched a bunch of garbage recently on Netflix. I got to think of what was worth it. But I did see Oppenheimer last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever the day or the Friday came out. It was good. Is it a 9 or a 10 like everyone else is ready to throw bouquets? No, it's not. It's Nolan has been on his downfall since after The Dark Knight. Dark Knight was fantastic, and that was the beginning of the end. It was Interstellar, which stunk. Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, you heard me. Interstellar stunk. It was, and we actually had on our podcast, the Gutting the Sacred Cow podcast you earlier alluded to, the guest turned out to be a physicist and explained why Interstellar is full of garbage. But forget that. It's boring. The film is boring, and it's full of inaccuracies. By the way, did you guys know on a foreign planet that you can live by breathing the gas ammonia?
No.
That doesn't happen in real life, but it did in Interstellar. It dragged. It was boring. I hated it. Rewatched it again, and I said, "Yep, I'm right." Then, of course, Dark Knight Rises. Not bad, not great. Definitely the weakest of the bunch. Then it was Dunkirk, which was all right, beautifully shot. There was no character development. It was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Then came Tenet, which was a complete manatee abortion. Could not care less. I got lost in the shuffle when I saw it in the theater. I admit I had no idea what the hell was going on or why was happening. I got home. I Googled what the point was, and I go, oh, who cares? It still stinks. This is better. It's longer. I don't mind long films. One of my favorite films of all time, JFK, over 3 hours. We just did Shawshank Redemption. That's almost that's 240. Pulp Fiction, my second favorite film of all time, 240. It drags. The last half hour, people were actually crapping on. I liked it because you learned a lot about what happened after the bomb was dropped, and they got into it. But it's good. It's going to win all the awards for probably best performances for sure. Best picture, I don't know, but it has zero rewatchability. I will never, most likely ever watch. Maybe I'll watch it one more time in my life, but it does not have that stickiness that a lot of other films do. Early Nolan stuff, yes, plenty of stickiness. The Prestige, amazing. Memento, amazing. Batman Begins, Dark Knight, oh, fantastic. But this, nope. So 7 out of 10. That's my number for you, fellas.
Okay, so you heard it here. He's picking Oppenheimer award season over Barbie. So
It's fair.
All right, Chad. What about you? What's the last movie you saw, by the way?
My daughter just had a birthday. She loves the Mario movie. So we bought her the Blu-ray and she's immediately wanted to watch it. It's a good time. It's a good time on a rewatch. It's an enjoyable movie and it helps erase the trauma of the original Mario movie from the John Leguizamo one.
Last movie for me that I saw was Superman from 1978, and this was a childhood delicacy for me, and I'm happy to pass it on to my son, he's 3 going on 4 soon, and he loved it. So it works, and this is a better Superman than the Man of Steel movie, which I was disappointed with. But
Superman 4 was better than the Man of Steel.
Man, I love these hot takes.
By the way, I think then you will love our episode where we had Bill Schultz, a frequent guest, very good friend on the morning show on Compound Media. It used to be on Fox Red Eye. He came on to explain why Superman the original is terrible. So you may want to check that episode out.
It's okay. I will check it out. Give me his address. We can fight. It's okay. All right. So
Chad, do you agree with Chad? Do you think Superman 78 is as fantastic as Russell does?
I am already going to tick off Russell enough tonight, so I'm going to stay out of that one.
Oh man, you guys are just trying to hand me an ice cream cone with
Russell.
On
you liked that episode of Superman as well, so give that a listen yourself. I have a sneaky suspicion.
All right. So, Chad, what movie are we covering today?
We are covering 1980s Caddyshack.
Doesn't feel like an 80s movie. It feels like a 70s movie, but it is. It's 1980. Its budget is $4.8 to $6 million, depending on where your sources are from. It grosses $39.8 million domestically, finishing at 17th in the box office that year. It comes in just behind Cheech and Chong's next movie and ahead of Friday the 13th. The number 1 movie that year was Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. That's a pretty good movie. IMDb rating gives the Caddyshack a 7.2. Rotten Tomatoes critics 72. Right on par there. And the audience score is an 87%. Now, the AFI says this is the number 71 greatest comedy of all time. And it also is featured on the AFI's greatest movie quotes at number 92 with Carl Spackler going, Cinderella story, out of nowhere, former groundskeeper, now about to become master champion of the world. It's a miracle. It's in the hole. It's in the hole. So,
do you fellas take AFI for? I know I would have credit because I think AFI is a big heaping pile of poop.
Well,
I'm not a fan.
I tend to like it, and Chad does not. So you have a kindred spirit, and again, it's just opposing forces here and there. So it's all
AFI. It needs to be a rule where every 10 years that list needs to be revisited, and people need to rewatch these films because there are a lot of films that are on there that stink. Maybe they were great at the time, but they stink now. See 2001: A Space Odyssey for Exhibit A.
Oh, you're just making such good friends with Chad tonight. I just can't tell you. I'm not even telling you the times that it's happening, but you are just closely like, I don't know. It's just like you and Chad are suddenly mind melding. It's unreal. So anyway, we'll see if you part ways down the line, though. Unsurprisingly, golf fans love this movie. Tiger Woods loves this movie. And the film is met with an underwhelming set of reviews, though. Criticism was handed towards the disorganized plot. Dangerfield, Chase, and Murray's comedic performances are well received, but the movie itself just doesn't go down well for people. And even though this was from the same minds of those who had helped craft Animal House, people just felt like this didn't live up to potential. So, Kevin, is this fair? Have you seen this movie before? What is your background with it? What's it like coming back to it today?
Oh boy, have I seen this movie? I've seen this movie. I can't even imagine how many times. If I had to put a rough estimate, probably 30-ish or above. How did I see it? I saw it initially as a kid on channel CBS, so the channel 2 around here in Central. Well, I'm from Central Jersey. I remember seeing 2 scenes stand out to me: the gopher and the bishop being struck by lightning. And then, of course, getting older, going, wait a minute, there's a lot more to this movie than that. And then I saw, of course, the original version of it, and said, oh, okay, that's it. And then you learn to lean into the quotes and the comedy. And I'm going to quote the great Judge Smales and go, top notch, top notch.
Right. So this is changing for you as you've come come to it. So do you feel like this is a movie? You just mentioned the AFI. Maybe these movies were fine for the time. Is Caddyshack fine in 2023?
No, it's not fine. It's magnificent.
All right. Okay. Now, so you're well versed in this movie. Let's go to somebody who has not seen this movie before. Chad, this is your first time with Caddyshack, isn't it?
This is, and I really hate this type of pressure because this is way, way up there on Russell's list. He's like, Chad, I'm going to put you on this episode. Please don't be mean to my baby. And here I am with this type of pressure. I like golf movies from what I've seen. I like Tin Cup, even the more serious Legend of Bagger Vance. Love Happy Gilmore. So I was prepared for a good time. I do not think this holds up. I think this is like a time capsule movie of if you showed this to Gen Z, whatever you think of Gen Z, I don't think it's going to go over well with the majority of them. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield is that quintessential 80s comedy. Like you had to grow up with it. And younger audiences, I don't know. I think you're going to get a lukewarm reception out of it.
Well, that's interesting.
Based on Gen Z's musical taste, I could give two what they think.
That is fair.
It is terrible what their opinions are, what's good and not. I will repartee with this. Rodney Dangerfield, these quotes have stood the test of time for 43 years for a reason. They are ubiquitous because they are funny. This is not meant to be a golf movie. And I find Tin Cup very boring. I find Ron Shelton films insanely boring. I hated Tin Cup. Bull Durham is overrated in my book. It's fine. It's not the best baseball film. But this is not a golf movie. This is a cocaine-fueled acting crew giving the best comedic performances ever to set foot in the American cinema. Rodney Dangerfield is Rodney Dangerfield. And one of the best all-time villains is in this film. He's just never given credit as such. And that's Ted Knight. Ted Knight's comedic appeal in this is fantastic. He plays that waspy jerk to a T and nails it. Chevy Chase does his thing with physical comedy. Chevy Chase, very hit or miss for me. Vacation movies are pretty good. Some hold up, some don't. And of course, you've got Bill Murray, who nails it. Nails it. People said Meatballs was a coming out party. Stop it. That's ridiculous. Meatballs stinks. This film has everyone at their zenith doing comedic performances. And it is the absolute quintessential perfect storm of great casting and great performances. And then, listen, at the time, that those guys were at the top of their game, and it's more of a screwball comedy. But I'd ask you, Gen Zers, what piece of garbage comedy can you say in the last 20, 25 years that you can even trot out against Caddyshack? The last funny film, and this is sad. This is what sick state of a world we're in. Marvel movies are taking over, which is fine. They'll love a lot of the Marvel films. But this is not a comedy era. The last great comedy is Borat. And that's 2006, 17 years ago. There has not been a comedy of that magnitude. And I base that off of laughs per minute. It's not a comedy like that where laughs per minute are clicking in at a high rate. There's not an American Pie kind of movie like that. Teen comedy, teen sex comedy. There's been no good comedies like that.
The comedy genre is in decline right now. Nobody seems to want to make them. They don't make enough money to pursue. And a lot of the great funny people of this time are having to find themselves on streaming and other formats and things like that. So we had an amazing run on Saturday Night Live. And some of the people that came off of there are not getting their runs on this like prior generations of Saturday Night Live alums have. And so
I'll venture a guess. It's because of the current times where you can't say certain things and certain people will get offended. So you can't push the envelope near as much as you did. Some things, obviously, in retrospect, can't really say anymore. And that's fine. But it doesn't mean other boundaries can't be tested in different forms of comedy.
That's probably part of it.
People are very, very afraid to go out there and make a true R-rated comedy because, again, someone may get butthurt and then write a Twitter post and
that could be part of it, in fairness. But I also think, simply put, people, you so often will say, I'm not going to go pay, my money for a comedy, I'll wait for it to come out on streaming to watch it. And quite frankly, people show up and pay large money for action movie sequels of Marvel movies and Star Wars movies, etc. And this is what we've been handed. So we've, in some ways, every time you buy a movie ticket, you cast a vote, and we as moviegoers have to support your comedies when they come to the theaters. So,
but the problem is quality. People support it by seeing Barbie. Do you need to see that on the big screen? You do not. It's laughable with Oppenheimer, as I mentioned before. Do you need to see that on the big screen? I even laugh harder when he said, come out and see it in IMAX 70 millimeter. You do not need to see that. The bomb scene is fine. It's not necessary for an IMAX. So people vote. You're right. People vote with their wallet, but people are voting in different ways. Go ahead, see a Marvel film for $15. It's worth it on the big screen. Barbie, no, not really. But again, if a movie's funny enough or it's going to grab you enough in the trailers, you got my $15. Doesn't matter what kind of theme it is. If it's great or looks good, I'm in.
Yeah. So for me, Caddyshack, I'm going to be more towards where Kevin was on this one. I love the movie Caddyshack. I was introduced to it as a child. I loved it, and I did not know. I think I probably got the TV edit for many years, like Kevin said. And, it only got better. It grew with me as I got older. I noticed progressively more and more jokes in there. I came to appreciate the performances of different characters at different parts of my life. This movie has phenomenal rewatch value. There are small things in the performances that are being captured here on film that just you don't get on a first watch. And so actually, I'm going to defend Chad here a little bit and say, I don't know how I would feel about it if I just came to it and just watched it for my first time cold here in, my late 30s and just came to it right now. So I will say this is the kind of movie that thrives on rewatch. It's this movie that thrives on sitting around with your buddies, laughing. It's the movie that, for me, I have very fond memories of my dad sitting there laughing hysterically at these things. So there's a joy for me that extends to a lot of my friends. A lot of my comedy sensibility is helped shape through some of the great comedic performances in movies like this, and particularly within this movie. So I'm going to be unabashed here and say I absolutely love this movie. I watched it 3 times in preparation for this podcast. I truly enjoy I truly enjoy it. And I enjoy preparing for this show. I enjoy all the movies we do, but I particularly enjoy this one. It makes me sad that we got to 227 episodes in before we got to cover this one. So I am psyched, and there will be spoilers that lie ahead. So if you haven't seen Caddyshack before, plot's not necessarily the biggest point here, but go ahead, see it. You owe it to yourself to see it. And, we will be back after these messages. There will be spoilers that lie ahead.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
All right, we are back. And for those who haven't seen this movie, this is your final warning. There are spoilers that lie ahead. So, Chad, for those who haven't seen Caddyshack since 1980, do you want to refresh people's memories?
Danny Noonan is a caddy at Bushwood Country Club trying to earn money for college. He learns of a caddy scholarship and wins the tournament, but decides to cheat on his girlfriend, which, with Judge Smale's promiscuous niece, Lacey, gets busted and has his scholarship revoked. Meanwhile, an uncouth but talented golfer named Al goads Judge Smales into a $20,000 bet on a doubles game. Al and Ty Webb, the man whom Danny caddies, team up against Smales and Dr. Beeper, a doctor who consistently neglects his responsibilities for the love of the game. Same time, an unstable groundskeeper named Carl Spackler is hunting a destructive gopher, and his attempts to destroy the rodent escalate throughout the film. Al gets hurt during the game, which has ballooned to a $40,000 bet. Danny takes Al's place and finds himself with an all-important putt to tie the game. Al once again provokes Smales into raising the bet, makes it 80 grand for Danny to sink the putt. Danny misses, but at that instant, Carl blows up the gopher holes, and the trimmers send Danny's ball into the hole. Al calls on his muscle to collect, and Judge Smales runs away. Our favorite puppet dances, having escaped Carl's destruction.
I don't know if I'd call him his girlfriend. They were an official, and here's my evidence. Where she thinks she's pregnant, she goes, "It may not be yours,
Oh, yeah.
okay?"
She's pretty casual about it. Yeah.
I don't think that guy said that they're exclusive.
That
So-
was such a weird subplot. I'm like, why? Why have that?
By the way, as much as I love this film, I love that we call it That Doesn't Happen on my shows. Explain to me why in the living hell she's dancing around the 17th hole at nighttime and no one's there to see this, but Danny just so happens to be on the golf course that late. Why is she dancing around in her nightgown on a course
If you
that's
don't want to be
closed in the middle of
pregnant
the
and you
night?
find out you're not pregnant, you'll dance anywhere. I'm sure this is only one of many places she went dancing throughout the night. So,
Well, thanks for nutting.
It's the Happy Gilmore meet on the 17th hole at midnight scene.
also,
Sprinklers come on.
they just kept the cameras rolling for a lot of this stuff. There's improv, and unfortunately, the actress who plays this character later is diagnosed with schizophrenia and struggles. So maybe she's having a little bit of a mental lapse out there. So,
So she only made 2 films, that and Tron. That's what happened to her. Sorry, I take
Animal
that.
House.
No, Lacey. Yeah. Lacey Underall was in Tron in this. Yeah, so she was Animal House, obviously the underage girl. So
Yes.
she had schizophrenia. That's why we've never seen her since.
pretty much, yes.
Huh.
Yeah. But anyway, after that downer note, we're all getting laid. That's the way this movie ends. So,
Fun fact, I watched this, surprise, many a time. I watched it on a plane on the airlines network. And of course, I didn't know this, but it was the edited version. And do you know what they say instead of, "Hey, everybody, we're all going to get laid"? It's, "Hey,
Yes.
everybody, we're all going to take a shower."
it's
Yep.
so. I don't even
That
know.
was their edit. It's so
That is
bad.
such a strange edit. Yes, I don't know what you're thinking for trying to fix that one up. I think 90s edits are hilarious, but this is pre-90s edit. I don't know. This is just another level of. I hadn't seen an edit that funny in a while. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I probably was, as a kid, even sat there and said, like, that's a strange line to end the movie on. So
All-time edits still has to go to The Rock for Winners Go Home and Date the Prom Queen.
Anyway, so this movie's based on Brian Doyle-Murray's experience as a caddy at the Indian Hill Club in Winnetka, Illinois. When he was younger, his brothers Bill Murray and John Murray and Harold Ramis also are all work on golf courses, caddies, etc. Ramis's brother Ed actually won a golf scholarship, like Michael Keith's character in this movie. So Ramis even met Bill Murray working on a golf course. So this is written from something that was close and near and dear to these writers. They're coming off Animal House. Kevin, where are we at this point in time? And just tell us how this movie kind of just came to be.
Cocaine. Lots and lots and lots of cocaine that would rival the 86 Mets. That's where it came to be. Douglas Kennedy, by the way, who wrote this film, also appearing in Animal House. Did you know that? Did you know what role he played? I'm going to ruin it for your fans. No spoiler alerts here. He plays Stork. What the hell are we supposed to do, you moron? That guy. At the end of Caddyshack, after they did the tour, he and Chevy Chase hiking up a volcano in Hawaii, and he fell into the volcano, high on cocaine. Chevy Chase quite tight-lipped about it. Did he fall? Was he pushed? I don't know, but Chevy Chase lives to continue to make films like Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and what's the other one he did? No Better Dead. Oh, what's that? Nothing But Trouble.
Oh, that
Yes.
wasn't that. Yeah, that one wasn't necessarily his best, for sure. Chad, you were a little bit hard on Blazing Saddles at times for lacking structure. Well, this takes structure and then smashes it with a sledgehammer. We have a series of vignettes, more so, of things that, Ramis and his writers, Doug Kenney and Brian Doyle-Murray, has gone through. So tell us, how's this going down for you as a story? Like, I mean, is this what's... I detect hesitancy in you. Is it the lack of structure that's working for you or working against you?
I mean, I gave Blazing Saddles a 4.5 out of 5. It's not like I crucified that film. Love the film. It's
Yeah.
just the final, 15-minute dance number. Cut it down a little bit. Yeah, this movie, it's like 1/3 of the way, we have an actual plot, and then afterwards, you're right, vignettes, skits, whatever, they're fine. The Bishop skit is hilarious. I love that entire subplot of him just throughout the movie. His little, "Are you Catholic?" "Yes." "Too bad." And moving on. The fact that they use music from the Ten Commandments, and that actor was in the Ten Commandments. That's a cool little scene. So I dig it. I'm fine with funny vignettes.
Okay. So before we go too far, what is it that worked for you here then? Like, what are some of the things that as a new fresh viewer you go like, "Oh, I didn't expect that," or "Haha, that's very funny"?
What worked for me the best was Rodney Dangerfield and just the ridiculous things that he had. His little golf bag, that just the pneumatic or golf clubs, fantastic. His boat, awesome. Just causing chaos, and he didn't get enough opportunity, in my opinion, to do that. Like, he's at his best when he's antagonizing Smales. Those are the two dynamics that I wanted the most. I actually really like Chevy Chase's humor here. I'm with Kevin. He's not always a hit for me, the physical comedy, but the dry humor I found great. So there were interactions that I wanted more of, I guess, that I didn't get as much. We only see Bill Murray interacting with Chevy Chase once in this entire movie.
You guys know why, though, right?
Because they punched each other out at SNL.
Yeah, and that was we got to get these two together in a scene for at least one part because they're the two biggest stars at the time, and that was all like, all right, here you go, improv something up and done. So,
yeah, and there's a cut scene, by the way, that like involves, Bill Murray coming up on a very strange looking lawnmower, and they end up cutting this out of the movie. It gets on a TV airing when they cut the Baby Ruth scene, which, by the way, the Baby Ruth is another one of those infamous moments where, that was actually based on a real life incident that Brian Doyle-Murray had in high school. So all these funny things that are happening are real things that happened. I mean, Harold Ramis actually early in his golf career hit somebody in the junk with a golf ball. So, I mean, Maggie is a character based on Brian Doyle-Murray's character. So all this stuff is coming through here, but we almost got a second scene with Bill Murray and Chevy Chase. And it was funny. Chevy was saying like, he calls him Billy. He's like, Billy's a dangerous guy in comedy. The grass was kind of wet and I had my cleats on. And I said, I can't get up on this lawnmower thing, so go turn in real slow. And of course, when I started to get up on it, he turned as sharply as he could, and I nearly fell off. And if you see this apparatus, you can see the cutscenes on YouTube. There's like these open blades all over the place. It does look like a very dangerous contraption. He said he had to jump way out to clear the blades of the lawnmower. So Bill just going at it dangerously with reckless abandon. And so, it's just, you're right. These guys are powerhouses, but they were professional in this. And they seem to do a great job. This scene where they share is hilarious. Any conflict that they had before didn't seem to come through, even though people were kind of expecting that clash to come back.
It's funny, before you just talked about that scene with the quote from AFI. It's, again, just proving how out of touch AFI is. That's probably the 74th funniest line for me in that film. There are many, many, many other funny lines. Top of my head, hey, you want your driver? Oh, he's not my type. I mean, that's way funnier than just the whole Cinderella story bit. It's just quoted because every jerk off who goes golfing says that while they're practicing their swing or with their buddies or whatever. They're way better ones.
That was a strange choice. I think of we have the Ted Knight meme of
Right.
well,
wait. There you go.
Like, he's got so many great lines. That one I had to go back. And watch it. I'm like, where was this even said?
Oh man,
It wasn't all improv.
Oh no! I laughed hysterically when I first saw it. I don't know. It goes with the sight gag too, though. I mean, he's trimming he's just obliterating these flowers that are in a row and just knocking them out. So, I mean, part of it's what he is doing while he is saying that too, which, to your point, Kevin, may not get you on the quotes list, but it got a hard laugh from me, certainly at the time.
Even the line after that scene, say, Carl, what are you doing? I was unavoidably detained. Like, there you see, that's funnier than the whole monologue. That whole cinema story, here it goes. It's cute, but is it emitting laugh? Again, I mean, we all know comedy's subjective, but it's
It got it from
Maybe
me.
it's because
it got it from
okay.
me.
All right. Well, then listen. Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
This was eye-opening for me. I feel like Adam Sandler has based his entire career off of Carl Spackler. Like, it just seems like he's doing
I
a
see
different version.
That does sound
But
pretty
less
real.
funny. But less funny version.
Fair.
And Bill Murray was working on this character at the Groundlings. I mean, it is partially based on a crossing guard that he had as a young boy who he thought was an idiot. And it's amazing how when a comedian, somebody truly gifted, comes into contact with somebody, just an idiot, and the amazing influence that can then have on a comedian's career. So he would say, "All right, kids, move along, come on, get across the street." So this is something that was partially cooked before he got here, and they just kept the cameras rolling on him. I mean, he was on fire. I think Cindy Morgan was saying, like, he just kept doing hilarious things, and editing this movie down must have been quite a task. It was super long, and it totally ended up changing direction.
3-hour long cut.
Yeah. 3-hour long cut, which, Chad, do you need?
And I would have watched it.
Yeah,
I'll watch it right now.
I honestly would watch that cut. So Chad's
No.
shaking his head in dismay. But
No, me and Dustin will forever be in the 90-minute camp. Like, that is perfection.
okay. But this movie was more caddy centric, and you cast Chevy Chase, you cast Bill Murray, you cast Rodney Dangerfield and Ted Knight. The adult characters are just, quite frankly, hilarious, talented people. I don't want to watch a movie about these caddies. They're okay, but I mean, they are not the entree for me here. Are they for you, Kevin?
No, what are you kidding me? No, look, Annunzio is funny. He's funny because he's that typical Italian dick. Play it well. There is no one else in there caddy wise. It's another one who steals scenes. Lou the Caddy Master. What's that sign say? No bare feet. What's that sign say? No fighting. You owe me one gumball machine. That line, way more quoted than the aforementioned Cinderella story for me. And just another one. Your Honor. that it's the caddies are all just superfluous. And you're right. No one's ever quoting them.
I guess
Ever.
do you do drugs, Danny? Yes, good man.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. So yeah. So I mean, I guess that line gets quoted a little bit. But to your point, they are vehicles to set up everybody else. Ramis told Cindy Morgan, don't try and make the joke when improving. Just set up the joke. And I think some of the people who were acting were disappointed to see their roles diminished, as you would expect when you're handed a script. You think you're the star, and you quickly realize you're nowhere near the most talented person in the room. In fact, you're probably just trying to keep up. But it all works for me here. So I mean, I think there's also some Harpo marks in Carl Spackler's character. You talking about Bill Murray influencing Sandler. Well, that's silent. There's a physical nature to what he's doing that I think is being channeled from some of that goofiness from before as well. So I don't know. I see that's high praise for me, though. I certainly like Harpo. So
I could see the correlation.
yeah. Now this movie is heavily improv, but I don't want to take that away from. I think Harold Ramis said, like, when you improv, people say that it's just, oh, you don't know what you're doing, or like you're just goofing off. It's not. You curate things, you set things up, and you give people direction, and then it's a really great way to mine comedy and get laughs. And I got to give Ramis a lot of credit. This is his directorial debut, and this movie, he gives the actors, who are massively talented, more than a lot of rope. I mean, he just gives them all of the rope. And I just got to say, I think this movie would have been a blast to have been on. Kevin, can you imagine just being around all of this electric comedic power?
Funny you mentioned that. Someone asked, what's the one film you would love to have been on set for? And that's it. This is it right here. Because of all the shenanigans you read about. I mean, they are literally flying people in with cocaine. There are line items in the script for cocaine for Caddyshack. Not saying I would imbibe. I'm just saying hanging out with Rodney off screen. For example, read it in the book. The guy who played, Spaulding.
Yeah.
Rodney would grab him to his motel room, and he would make him listen to Rodney's act and go, what do you think, kid? Huh? Is that funny? Should I cut that joke? I am all in on with stuff like that. Rodney Dangerfield, he lost money making this film. I don't know if you guys knew that or not as well. He had gigs in Vegas. He had to cancel the gigs to do the film. He lost more money in Vegas doing his gigs than he did getting from Caddyshack. But of course, this propels him to the stratosphere where he gets easy money next.
Back to
and
school.
Then back to schools after that, yeah. And then, of course, he decides to take a hard left turn into garbage cinema and makes Ladybugs and Meet Wally Sparks and other stuff. But back to school, easy money. I mean, pick your poison. Both fantastic comedies. But yeah, this is one film. You could walk in any like different clique and just want to hang out with everybody. I want to hang out with Spaulding. I want to hang out with Nunzio. I definitely want to hang out with Cindy Morgan in her prime. Bill Murray, obviously, and again, Rodney Dangerfield, and watching Ted Knight kind of just conform because he's a real trained actor.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was too close for comfort on at this time. I don't recall, but to have him watch this zoo as someone who took this seriously, I would have loved to watch him with kind of a jaw agape as the shenanigans were on, and these guys are again writing the scripts and scenes on coke, that's for sure. And you actually just want to harken back to one of your other points about improv and how it can work. Improv cannot work in a lot of cases, and I'm going to give you a perfect case in point, fellas. Anchorman 2, what a turd. And that was damn near all heavily improv.
It was disappointing.
What not even comparing to the original, because that's like comparing Naked Gun 1 and Naked Gun 3, which I rewatched Naked Gun 3 the other day. Boy, does it stink. Never really liked it to begin with. But the drop off from 1 to 2 for Anchorman is so bad. And again, you need to have some kind of confines with the script, even if you're an improv heavy casting troupe.
I'll go ahead and mention it. I was going to mention it later in the show, but there is no greater fall off for a sequel than Caddyshack to Caddyshack
100%.
That is by far the biggest drop off. I know you haven't seen it, Chad, but just don't. I mean, just shield yourself. I mean, it is truly disappointing. I wish there was a stronger word. Very disappointed.
People ask, what's your favorite movie? And I say Caddyshack. People say, what's your least favorite movie? And a lot of times I say Caddyshack 2 of all time.
It's a very reasonable answer. So, I mean, it hurts.
One other, I read Rodney Dangerfield's autobiography, and they brought him the script to read in a hotel room. He reads his area, goes, this is and throws it in the trash can. Doesn't do it. It took Chevy Chase a ton of money to even do those 3 or 4 scenes he was in for Caddyshack 2, because he also admitted this is terrible. No one wanted to come back. Obviously, that's why Dan Aykroyd was in there for Bill Murray. Robert Stack was in there for Ted Knight. I don't know if Ted Knight had died at that point or not, but I mean, it is an egregious, just stegosaurus turd. It is a blight on American society. And anyone who tries to even say, yeah, it's not that bad, is lying to themselves.
I mean, if you were to ever, how like Halloween retconned everything else and just got rid of like just kept the first 2 movies and got rid of all the bad stuff. That that's what you need to do to Caddyshack 2. Just retcon it out. Just make it not exist. So
Halloween 2 is not that great. It's okay. It's fine. Again, it maybe suffer from a lot of drop off because the first is so excellent, which is why the first Halloween reboot is so great, because they're like, all that stuff that happened after 1, it didn't happen. And they make their own tangent and I guess metaverse from there.
Yeah.
And that's why it works so well. The sequels to those don't work so well. So
Bill Murray filmed all of his scenes, even including the one with Chevy that we mentioned earlier, in just 6 days, which is amazing. Like we've talked about him throwing fire. I mean, again, I just wanted to say, like, this is lightning. This is just, it's like a lightning storm. It's just unbelievable. Chevy is one of these abrasive actors. I don't know how much you know, but Chevy Chase has a tendency. He's a jerk. So, I mean, he's funny. He's hilarious.
Wait. You didn't say spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, it's not a spoiler on that one. I think we all know. You can Google the sad stories. Somebody who makes me so happy on film. You sit there and you read the things that they do off film. He's always a jerk, but when he's a jerk on camera, there's just something about his sarcasm, his wit, his dry delivery, as Chad said, is so funny, and it's just funny to read these stories off the screen with Chevy. He and Ted Knight didn't get along. Rodney Dangerfield and Ted Knight did not get along. Ted Knight, I think, had a hard time dealing with the low structure of everything that's around. And in fairness, you guys mentioned this guy is a legitimate actor. this is not his scene, and yet he's so right for this movie. Chad, this reminds me of, probably I think it was molded after this character, but do you remember the R.J. Fletcher and UHF that was done by Kevin McCarthy? I think
Absolutely.
I think he's channeling his Ted Knight here in this movie pretty well. Like, we have a good villain here, don't we?
I can see it. Yeah, he's one of my favorite parts of this movie. He steals every scene that he's in. I love the overreaction. We didn't get to do my favorite comedian on screen, but I really like Lewis Black, and he's got a little bit of that outrage of Lewis Black in him. And yeah, I had so much fun watching him. I love a bad guy. I love a good villain, whether they're goofy like Smales here or if they're just completely evil. But he does a fantastic job. And to Kevin's point, he's not partaking in any of this. I can't think of another movie where we actually see a producer doing cocaine in the movie. Like, he's in the background doing a line of coke during the party scene.
They would race golf carts on the course and like crash them into each other, and like dangerous stuff here. And the producer was right out there with him doing it.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the Scar scene of I'm surrounded by idiots. Like, that's what he had to be thinking. But it doesn't really come across here.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, it's all orchestrated chaos, I think. So, but Chevy walks right up to Ted Knight when he sees him and like messes his hair up. And like Ted Knight's the kind of goes around fixing his hair up real neat and clean all the time and making sure his hair is just so. Got off to an immediate bad start. I love this story. So Ted Knight comes out outraged to Ramis and he goes, "That man is disgusting. He is just vile." And Ramis is like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Rodney, slow down. What'd he do?" He goes, he left this big giant turd in my trailer. And it was hot. It's Florida. It's hot where this is filmed. And so he's like, it's just, the smell's been in there. It's awful. And it's just terrible. And Ramis watches him storm off and angry at, again, this just shows you the troubles that Ted Knight's having. And then he comes up and Chevy Chase comes up. He goes, "You're not going to believe what Ted Knight just told me." He goes, "Rodney Dangerfield just took a crap in his trailer and left it there." And then Chevy just smiled and pointed to himself like that was me. So
of course it was.
Again, these things are funny when they don't happen to you. So, but Chevy is also just really great at the improv stuff. He said on Saturday Night Live, "I found the strategy when doing Weekend Update and things that just pretended like my best buddies, my 7 best friends were there. And what would I do to make them laugh?" And I brought that here. And he says he loves working with Harold Ramis. He said Harold Ramis gave him Clark Griswold and he gave him Ty Webb here. And it's just one of those things where the direction that Harold gave him seemingly seemed like it was there, but I got to give Chevy credit too. He takes that framework that Harold gives him and he just mines so much gold out of it. Kevin, you mentioned that you're hit and miss on Chevy Chase. I actually think as far as you're talking about quotability, he's a pretty good quote machine in this movie, is he not?
He very much is. "You do drugs every day, Danny?" "Yeah, every day." "Is this Russia?" "This isn't Russia, is it?" "Okay, good. Thought so." Even the subtle one, I tell you what I love. My favorite Chevy scene is not a quote. It's where he walks by, the people are walking by in the club and he's doing the thing with the tongue waggle, flicking his tongue back and forth at them. And then he starts pulling his zipper up and down as hot women walk by. And it's just, you're not good. You're just terrible, Al. You're right. The dryness is great. And he's fantastic, but he's got a lot of great quotes in there. "A flute without holes is not a flute; it's a Danish." And a donut without holes is a Danish. "A flute without holes is not a flute." No. That again, way higher ranked than the Cinderella story, I say.
How do you measure yourself up with other golfers?
By height. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm no slouch myself. Oh, don't trouble
Don't sell yourself short, Judge. You're a terrific slouch.
Yeah, it's just he's also just outstanding here. I thought it was really interesting to see the stories of Rodney Dangerfield off camera. As you mentioned, he's kind of a newcomer to films here. This is his first movie, and I thought it was funny that where Ramis would say action, and then nothing happened, and he would say action, and he would say, "Rodney, we need you to go." He goes, "Do my bit?" "Yes, It's okay. Okay, Rodney, do your bit. And then they would go. So it kind of came a thing that Harold would say, okay, Rodney, do your bit instead of action. So it's really funny. He thrives as a stand-up comedian off of the audience's reaction on him. And he thinks it's not going well. Everybody on set's not really laughing as he's working and he's getting stressed out. He's even sweating. Like he'd sit there and say, like, I'm not doing well here. And people would say, you're killing it, Rodney, you're killing it. And the crew cannot laugh. Otherwise they're going to mess up the laugh track. Like they can't, like the audio track. So they can't do that. But it just shows you the difference in being on stage and the comedic nature of what Rodney does. I'll be honest with you. None of that insecurity shows at all here to me. I just think he's wildly hilarious. I don't know if it's just, again, good editing, enough repetitions, but I just think it's funny to see that someone is so good who is literally stealing the movie, increasing his role. They're rewriting the script to get him in it more. Doesn't necessarily just, you know what? I'm crushing this, because he is.
Yeah, that's a good story. I read that too in the books. And again, as a comic, you're looking for that immediate reaction to play off of it. And when everyone's sitting there stone-faced, he's sweating bullets and thinking, oh my God, I'm bombing. And he's doing anything but.
So we did talk about this movie. You don't really want it to be about the caddies, but how do you feel about Michael O'Keefe, who's technically your protagonist here, Chad?
I always have a problem. I know you guys are saying, okay, open relationship, whatever, with his girlfriend, but he just straight up cheats on her with absolutely no consequence whatsoever. There's the pregnancy thing, and then when she comes clean and says, okay, I'm not pregnant, he just says, well, I've been kind of a creep, and that's it. That's what we do with this guy. Is he just says, I've been kind of a creep too, and everyone's okay, and it just works out for him. I don't like this kid. I don't like him at all. I would have been fine had we just written those eliminates the name Caddyshack, but I would have been fine eliminating all these caddies altogether.
So Chad just wants golf course instead of
Yes.
Caddyshack.
Yes.
So
I don't need this kid.
or Bushwood.
So let's just state the obvious here, fellas. This is not a plot-driven film.
Yeah.
This is a tentpole for jokes. We are not here to I like this character. I didn't like this character. Who cares? It make you laugh. That's all. The framework for comedies or jokes. That's the foundation. Did it make you laugh? Mission accomplished. I just need a bare bones plot to get me through. The problem, though, is when it's not funny, Napoleon Dynamite, listen up, and the jokes are terrible, then the plot had better be something there, and that's the problem. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. The jokes, I don't care about plot. I need laughs per minute is what I'm here for, and that's what this film delivers in spades.
Well, you can't care about plot. The entire ending doesn't work. Like, he's putting for a tie.
Yeah, it's pure debauch. It's pure shenanigans. It's pure nonsense with the ending, how it just goes, the explosions. They're like, oh, that counts good enough. After good 15 Mississippi, after the ball falls to the edge of the cup, it doesn't fall in. Do the jokes hit? Yep. That's all I care about.
There's no way Smales is even taking that bet. At worst, he breaks even. They're putting for tie, and then he's all of a sudden, okay, let's put 80 grand on sinking this putt that doesn't go in. Push up my glasses and say, golf rules, it's 12 seconds, and it can't be influenced by trimmers, whatever. Like, none of that makes any sense, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a fun scene. You throw in 1812 Overture, good times.
I'm so glad.
Moose, Rocco, help the judge find his checkbook.
Yeah.
We're talking perfection here, kids.
I'm so glad that you said that, Kevin, because you can write a drama comedy where you are very story and character related and really based, but generally like The Odd Couple, I think, is the one that thrives off of character like development and like, you know, these characters. But I mean, there is a dramatic sense to those comedies, but equally as successful and every bit as good is, can you create a vehicle for the comedy to come into? And as you mentioned, laughs per minute, and make wall-to-wall jokes. Can you design your comedy with enough talent and different kinds of laughs? If there's stuff going on in the background, there's little stuff like in the restaurant, like when Spalding goes like, are you going to eat your fat? Like, I mean, like, it's just like, I mean,
another line I use all the time too.
I mean, there's just like these little things that you're not going to get on even the third viewing. So, I mean, it's one of those things that I think Mel Brooks is really good at this. I've mentioned this before just a little while ago, even on the Blazing Saddles when we did this. There's a difference, like you said, Kevin, when someone comes up short and then they just come out there, or they're relying too much on. I'm going to say Bruce Almighty is one of these movies where people just are like, we've got Jim Carrey, we're okay, and it's not just okay at that point because there's not enough talent around him. It's not the director's over constraining what he's doing, and it doesn't capture what he's doing quite like probably earlier performances of his. So I think I got to give Harold Ramis a ton of credit here to be able to allow people to have their wild freedom, but also to make it all come together. I do maintain it must have been a real headache to edit a 3.5 hour movie down to the format that we have today. So, but when you get all that content, he was also not handcuffed to the script, and he let it evolve and found what the comedy of the movie would be. So you probably could even remake this movie into a different movie. Hopefully you would name it something different, and you probably have a movie about caddies and it would probably do its own sort of purpose. But so much credit for just evolving and finding where the sweet spot of the ball was for this. Or he was one with the ball. He was the ball. So
be the ball, Danny.
So Chad, you've seen some Harold Ramis flicks in the past for sure here. This is Animal House is a big one. We got National Lampoon's Vacation, Groundhog Day, Multiplicity. We covered Ice Harvest, but that's at the end of his career. That feels a little bit out of character with some of these other ones. But he's also the writer for Stripes, Ghostbusters, Back to School. I'm not as hard on Meatballs as Kevin is. I will admit it goes down better as a kid. Like as a younger person than as I've gotten older, it's harder to return to.
I saw it as a kid and it sucked as a kid. I cringe to think what it was like as an adult.
I think Bill Murray can, I don't know, a little bit of Bill Murray goes a long way with me. So he steals the show there for sure. I can see why people were captivated with him. But anyway, Harold Ramis here, early in his career as a director. Chad, this guy is like a comedy juggernaut. Tell us about your take on how he's running it here.
Oh no. Oh no. Harold Ramis is someone that just does not click with me as a director. I've come to find out I just don't like the majority of what he does. And I can't put my finger on what it is. Like I look out this list and probably it's just really fond memories of Elizabeth Hurley, but Bedazzled is what stands out to me of like, okay,
she is very pretty in that movie in fairness. So.
Yeah. That's overly distracting compared to Year One. That was the Michael Cera movie, right?
That's the last movie he did. I was going to give him the grace of not mentioning that movie. Well, so, I mean,
his list very much falling apart big time. I have it right.
I think Ice Harvest is the pivot point where it's just like, this isn't what you do. This is an interesting thing in its own right. This feels off base. Like, I think he's off his own train at that point.
Well, you guys forgot a lot. Analyze this, analyze that. I mean, the first analyze this, I don't know. I was nonplussed. I didn't see the second one. Bedazzled, who cares? I mean, Elizabeth Hurley's hot, but she's hot in everything she's did. Multiplicity, did you guys see that? I didn't care to. Stuart Smalley saves his family. Did you guys forget about that one?
Yeah, well, I'd like to, but I mean, Multiplicity, I'll give. It's not on the level of his earlier work, but it's
Groundhog Day. I mean, people love that. I don't.
I do love Groundhog Day.
I've never been able to finish it. I don't know how it ends.
Buddy, you and I really are simpatico. I find it so just. What's the
so good.
What's the magnetism that this film has? It's a great idea, but where are the jokes? Where are we laughing? We're not. I rewatched it recently. I was very disappointed. Club Paradise, never saw it. Vacation, it's still fun. The laughs are sparse until Cousin Eddie gets in the mix. There are some chuckles. You're like, okay, it's cute, it's funny, it's memorable, it's quotable, but it's not as funny. Like, again, laughs per minute, and of course, Caddyshack. So he's got a lot of more, I dare say, more misses than hits.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I think it just goes off at the end of his career. Like, I feel like we talked about this with John Hughes. Like, awesome catalog.
The king of hit and miss. He's 50% down the middle, John Hughes.
And then towards the end of his career, just after.
No. Even John Hughes, prime John Hughes, is not good. The Molly Ringwald trilogy, all of them were done on our podcast. All of them are terrible.
Oh, no.
Weird Science, terrible. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, great. Ferris Bueller, great. Uncle Buck, great. But man, oh man, Weird Science is terrible. It's
I love
not
Weird
funny.
Science.
And again, the Molly Ringwald ones are all awful. Oh, they're all 16 Candles. God, The Breakfast Club, probably the worst of the bunch.
Oh no, 5 stars.
And Pretty in
Love it.
Pink.
I
Nope.
stand justified right now.
Oh,
I'm
you
looking
do.
a
Oh,
little
you're-
smug.
You found your friend there, Chad, on the Breakfast Club. So I just think
Planes, Trains, Automobiles is great though from Hughes. It's another one I just remembered at the last second. Planes, Trains is fantastic.
old Hollywood stories. I did want to bring this one up. So this one kind of made me sad. Cindy Morgan's character was kind of pressured into doing a nude scene. Like initially, Ramis just said, "Would you be interested in doing this?" And she said, "No, I don't want to." And he said, "Okay." But the producer, John Peters, was very insistent. It's got to be a nude scene. She's got to be in this and nude. And so Harold Ramis says, I'm not doing that. And John Peters really forced her to do it relatively quickly, even though she was reluctant to do it. And she was nervous to go through with it. But not only that, he then, I guess, had Playboy come in to do a spread for the film. And, he wanted her to pose nude. And so, like, using a lot of force here as a producer, John Peters is not a really nice guy by all accounts. The people who work with him, these stories kind of made me sad a little bit. So,
And then he married Barbara Streisand, or dated her, I should say, at least.
Okay, well, nevertheless, I just these stories are these stories.
You didn't know how to react to that
I don't know how.
Gotcha.
But
It's why we don't have Michelle Pfeiffer in this film, because they wanted her. They were insistent that she would need to do a nude scene, so she said nope.
Cindy Morgan's still pretty awesome for the time. I mean, the character's not very likable, so it took me a long time. Actually, when you watch
Why do you dislike her?
Cindy Morgan's character, like when you meet her,
Why do you dislike Lacey Underall?
He doesn't like the floozy.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, I mean-
she's very stuck up. She's just so pampered and like she's sheltered in this like wealthy environment, and so she doesn't seem excited about anything. She's just floating through life, and she just she's very apathetic to getting everybody else in trouble. So she's only there for herself. She just comes off as very selfish and self-centered, and bratty and spoiled, which, these are character traits that are hard to get behind. When you actually see, I think it helps when you actually see Cindy Morgan in interview, who's not these things. Again, it's an acting job. So, I mean, she's actually one of the more fun people, I think, when you watch the interviews about the making of the movie. I think she's one of the cooler people to hear talk about it. So, again, that's, as John Lovitz would say, that's acting.
Man, you are insanely hard on her. Like, her role was just be the nympho, and that's what she did.
She's from dreary Upper Manhattan, as Dr. Beeper said. So you got to take it what it is. I thought she was, she's out there throwing around guys. That's what she likes to do. Not going to fault the lady for doing that.
I think when you watch this movie, you're geared to like the sweetheart Irish girl who likes Danny from the more humble side of things.
Oh, terrible accent.
See, I didn't like her. Oh, terrible accent. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought Maggie was just, I mean, everyone, what's her main thing? Why don't you come in and help me sort me holy cards? That's her claim to fame. I'm not on board with this.
She had more part of the movie, and she was actually an exchange student. I had always had the theory that she was the Irish groundskeeper's daughter, who Bill Murray's. I love the dialogue between this. Like, we got to kill all the golfers. Yeah, but if we kill all the golfers, won't be. So
I'll be able to throw the key.
That was a Scottish accent, though. She was doing a brogue accent, so
it's
different
fair.
countries.
It's fair, but they just cut that out, so there's no explanation for it. So a little bit awkward there. Why?
Well, it's because of Bill Murray. They were trying. He said a lot of the women at the golf course that he caddied at were Irish. I don't know why you have to bring that detail into your film when this person cannot do an Irish accent, but yeah, that was their reasoning.
I know why. Cocaine.
That's
Sure.
fair.
That's fair. So the whole movie took 11 weeks to do, which that's pretty quick in terms of by today's standards anyway. And I just thought it was really awesome. More Ramis stories. Everyone kept calling him Mr. and Sir, and he kind of thought that was cool. And then he realized, oh yeah, they're giving me a hard time for first time director. So this does sound like a very fun environment to be on. Like you said, Kevin, it just seems like a fun atmosphere. Ramis thought his first day as directing was going to be a total disaster. He had a local actor who was a former Korean vet trying to do lines, which ended up being it's a long speech. It's the Dalai Lama speech. Well, at least I got that going for me.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it is a very good scene. This wasn't going to be Bill Murray initially, and Ramis struggled the whole first day with him. And man, Bill Murray, again, back to that sense of danger with him. That's a real pitchfork really close to that guy's throat, and you're kind of sitting there going like, that little bit of discomfort that he brings is just makes him such a good humorist. He's so funny. So
no argument.
Chad, what about the setting here? We're filming this in Florida. It is chosen to be shot at a course that does not have tropical trees on it, meaning palm trees and stuff, etc., to give it the feel that it could be elsewhere. Do you like where we shot Bushwood?
Yeah, they said they were going for a Midwest feel. I didn't quite get that.
I didn't
get the Midwest part at all. I just thought it's a generic place in America. They didn't give any kind of venue description whatsoever. If I had to guess, was it Nebraska for some reason?
Yeah, I think you're right. Wrong. I think you are right about that. I don't understand why it had to be there. And honestly, the houses made me think we were in California, that they were.
Well, those may have been shot in California. I know the golf course stuff was shot in right outside of Lauderdale, I believe.
Yeah, because they could see the explosions from Fort Lauderdale. The pilot called it in.
It did cause them problems, though. There was a hurricane that caused, the delay in shooting. You had worms were all over their floor that had come from the hurricane there. They also had trouble with airlines. It was too close to an airport. So in movies, it's frustrating. You have to make sure that there's no planes going this way, that way, this way, and that way. And so they had to constantly keep putting up with interference from that. I thought it was interesting. The pool scene with the famous Baby Ruth scene, they had to go to another country club because that country club didn't have a pool. What kind of self-respecting country club doesn't have a pool in Florida? Is what I thought.
They also said the golf course, they didn't tell them they're going to blow it up, because every place they did tell them they're going to go blow up a golf course. They're like, well, you can't do that here. And of course they don't tell them for this one. And then here we are.
They did build up a mound to like blow up sacrificial dirt for that, but they totally, like I said, they were having golf cart like races and stuff in pitch black with those don't have lights on them back in the 70s either, by the way. So like they're tearing up the field and running amok on the golf course they're at. Again, I'm sure they get a good bit of business from just simply being the golf course that Caddyshack was filmed in. So I'm sure it all panned out for them in the long run. But
the real one's in Illinois? Like they have a rule where you can't mention Caddyshack?
I don't know. That one I did not come across. I know there's a restaurant if you like this. So if the Murray brothers, so the Murray brothers have a Caddyshack restaurant. I believe that is also in Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Yeah, what I'd read is the people that these were modeled after, especially the old people, because the older folks that are the one that hits it into the water, the grandma that just goes wee, and that's fun.
That's a peach, hon.
I knew instantly. I said, these are actual people. This is what's going to be. And I guess descendants are still at that country club and they're still ticked off about being portrayed in this movie. Like it was obvious that it was some relative of theirs.
It wasn't the scene where they were golfing, but the scene where they had come over to Judge Smales and they were waiting for the tee and the butlers knocked over the top railing and then all the tee stuff just falls down on the floor and they go like that old lady going like, I guess the tea's ready.
That must be the tea.
Yeah, that must be the tea. Oh, it's so good. For an old lady vacant actress, that's just such a great job. And by the way, Mrs. Smales is also deliciously awful. Like she just nails the Baby Ruth faint scene that she does. The
Come look for my stretch marks.
Yeah,
classic.
Yeah, I mean the shake your booty down by like
the dogs. Love it.
That was so yeah. Those are all wonderful things. Like these people are getting buried in all the talent, but it's pretty solid down through the list here. I got to ask, we haven't talked about this, but do you like the gopher, Chad?
I read all this criticism, and some of my favorite movies have puppets. I love Gremlins. I love the original Star Wars that George Lucas keeps messing with and taking my puppets out of it. I'm fine with the gopher puppet. It doesn't distract me at all. I think it kind of adds to the charm. No issues.
My dad actually has an issue with the gopher. He says he loves this movie, but he says it could do without the gopher. I'm like, you love Bill Murray. You won't like. What would he do without the gopher? He said, "Oh, he'll be funny no matter what." I'm like, well, maybe, but I like it. I like him on a gopher hunt. To me, what about you, Kevin? Do you think the gopher is good? This is a quote unquote uniting element throughout the movie that kind of was added late.
Loved it as a kid. Then I grew up and got more mature. Kids, that's the answer is no. The gopher stinks. We can take that out. I mean, look, Bill Murray it at least gives Bill Murray the outlet to get some of those great lines in there. Au revoir, gopher. But then the gopher another that doesn't happen. The gopher sees him making the bombs and gets scared. Okay, last time I checked, that obviously can't happen. But I can do without the gopher. Give me more Rodney and Chevy and Ted Knight and 86 that gopher. Give me Spalding picking his nose and watch those guys take more bets on if the Smells kid is going to eat it for $50. Give me that. Take away the gopher.
Well, in the DVD features I saw, Chevy Chase said, "I hate the gopher." They spent thousands of dollars, or I might have been millions. I don't know what he said. He said they spent all this money on making this gopher, animatronic gopher, and all it did was raise its arms and turn its head. And he said they should have given that money and screen time to me. So, so
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Yeah.
Wow.
He's not wrong.
Okay. I think this is part of me. I liked it as a kid, and I can't not like it. Again, I like the crazy extremes. Watching Bill Murray literally dive towards these holes to try and catch the gopher, or the scene where he's got like the clay, varmints to try and catch the gopher. Of like, and who are his friends? But the rabbit and the squirrel. You see, to catch an animal, you have to think like an animal. And it does like that great lip, like just melts off his face. I mean, none of this will be there without the gopher. So I am pro gopher. I'm okay with it. They tried to get the Jim Henson Company to do the puppetry for it. They wouldn't do any outside projects. Disney was similar. So they had to get some guy named Jeff Burke who did it on a Moonlight basis. So
it shows.
Okay. So let's see. Soundtrack. I am not a big Kenny Loggins fan. I probably dug my hole deep enough with Top Gun saying I don't love that soundtrack or Kenny Loggins, and they're 4 or 5 times they just keep pushing it down your throat. Kevin, are you okay with I'm All Right and Kenny Loggins here?
Not only am I a fan of I'm All Right, it is on my phone as a ringtone at times, depending on who's calling me. Yes, I'm very fine with it. I'm also a fan of Journey's Any Way You Want It, because anytime you hear that song, even my 8-year-old daughter, when she hears that song, I go, so what? She go, so let's dance. Those 2 songs alone, and the other songs you can hear in the background, like, oh, I know that one. You hear it on the radio. Go, that's from Caddyshack. But what other songs are there? Those are the main 3 ones.
Yes.
And I am full. Anytime you hear those songs, either of those songs, a smile will automatically creep onto my face. That's how great they are. And Top Gun soundtrack, Danger Zone, solid. It's not solid. Footloose. That song needs to be buried along with Uptown Girl and other terrible songs like that. But Loggins, I could go to Kenny Loggins concert and stay for 15 minutes, 3 or 4 songs, and I'm out of there. That's it.
Okay. Chad, how about you? Or this is getting closer to your comfort zone. You like these happier 80s times here. So are you
I do. I don't need 5 minutes for the intro like that. I kind of just wanted the movie to get on with itself rather than hear the entire Kenny Loggins song. We do get it later on, and that's fine. Danger Zone, you're just wrong.
Very wrong. Very wrong.
It's not
Highway to
good.
the Danger Zone is you're so wrong. And I'm sure you're going to get into it, but it's weird that this is the song that kicked off that craze of 48-track studio-produced songs. Like, of all the movies, for a trivia answer, I would not have picked Caddyshack with Kenny Loggins for these studio-produced songs and this craze.
Chad, I'm just try this on for size. It seems like a bad fit, but Harold Ramis wanted Pink Floyd to write the music for all of the film. And
oh my
God.
That's terrible.
This
I
is
love
your
Pink Floyd.
favorite music artist. So you don't want Pink Floyd here.
I hate Pink Floyd, so I'm very much happy that this choice was not made.
Chad's not friends anymore.
Yeah, I love Pink Floyd, and they don't belong here. Like, I can't imagine them even entertaining the offer. They did do a terrible soundtrack of Zabrisky's Point, which is, it's just Nothing about it is good. It doesn't seem like they cared. They took a paycheck.
One other fun musical note here. As you may well know, Chevy Chase's and Paul Simon's You Can Call Me Al's 1986 video. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Paul Simon, but I do like this music video, probably because of Chevy. But there's a line in it where he looks at the camera and he says, "You can call me Betty." And it's directly from Caddyshack when he says, he calls Danny the wrong name several times. He calls him Betty.
Yeah.
So
I like it, Betty. Danny.
What do you have against Paul Simon? Like, why?
I prefer him with Garfunkel as opposed to without Garfunkel. He's not a great vocalist, and without that harmonization that Art Garfunkel brings, then just it's not as enjoyable for me. And I did not enjoy going to Graceland with the whole African influence thing that everybody else loves and champions. So good songwriter in his own right and all that stuff. I'm just saying we are entering into the Paul Simon that I don't like by the mid 80s. That's all.
All right.
Although, go short guys. I'm a short guy, so, good for you. Marrying Princess Leia. All right. Kevin, Chad, why don't we give out some superlatives?
I'm ready.
All right. Kevin, who's your MVP of Caddyshack? This movie that you love so much.
I can't give an MVP. This is I tell you, I'll if you want to give me one, the whole entire cast is the MVP. I can't. I go Rodney. I go Ted Knight. I go Chevy. I love them, those three equally. So I'll just be very lazy and go the cast.
Okay. I see you're going to walk the line on this one. So Chad, how about you? Can you make a decisive MVP for us of Caddyshack?
It's Chevy Chase for me. Of the big three, he's the one that came closest to making me laugh consistently. I really enjoyed his dry humor. I wish he'd had more to do. I felt like no one really got a pure amount of time to shine. I wanted more time with each of these characters, except maybe Bill Murray.
So you don't want 3.5 hours of it?
No, I don't.
I am going Bill Murray. Bill Murray is probably my favorite comedic actor, and this is probably
of all time.
Yeah, I love him so much. And
wow,
I love Groundhog Day in a way that I know you went off on that one earlier. I love Ghostbusters. What About Bob? It's just, I mean, that might be my number one movie. I love What About Bob. I think the dramatic stuff that he does later in his career, I don't know. I give him credit for turning a page and doing that in his older age, but Scrooged, he's just so good. I don't know. I just love Bill Murray, and his Saturday Night Live work makes me very happy. I'm a big Saturday Night Live fan as well. So anyway, Carl Spackler might be my favorite Bill Murray performance as just him being Bill Murray and just nailing this character. I love it so much. So it's my MVP. Best supporting actor though, Kevin.
I mean, I'll have to go Ted Knight. So if I have to do that, I'll go Rodney then. Really, yes, Ted Knight supporting. Those two. The Sturm and Drang from those two, fantastic. Love them. That's it. Ted Knight, one of the best villains in movie history that no one talks about.
All right. Now, Chad, again, most of the people we have talked about this entire time technically are supporting actors. I mean, I think Danny is your protagonist probably, but who's your best supporting on this?
I would give him MVP if I didn't think I'd get pushback, but Ted Knight, I agree with Kevin. He's unhinged. People are still using his quotes and the gifts from this movie. It's his face. I love everything about what he did. It's incredible.
I particularly loved how slimy Ted Knight is when he throws the golf club and hits somebody just eating at the restaurant, and Danny covers for him. And there's these moments where he seems incredibly indebted, or Danny lets him cheat, and he's like, "How about you mow my lawn?" Or he hands him a nickel, and like, so he's been done so many favors, or he's had this guy brown nose him so hard, only to get very minor returns for it, and all of that is just so funny to see how cheap and petty he is. So, and he does lay it on really good with I think you can agree, some people just aren't Bushwood material. Like, he nails that.
People just don't belong. That's how we do it.
Yeah. So it's and it's so enjoyable when Chevy goes, "Yeah, my dad never liked you."
I'll see you on the golf course. I do this movie just from pure memory. You're right. Yeah, it's great. Ted Knight is It's a shame that we never got him in more comedic roles because, boy, did he just absolutely kick the living hell out of us with this role.
Yeah, absolutely. Hidden gem, Kevin.
Hidden gem.
Who or what is an undercelebrated character or element within this movie that you want to give credit to?
I could have said I could have said Ted Knight again, but I'm going to go with Brian Doyle-Murray, the caddy master. Well, Lou raised the price of Cokes. Well, I ain't paying no 50 cents for no Coke. I mean, Lou is so funny. Odd or even. Odd. You're odd it is. Honor, Your Honor. You pick up that tissue. You pick up that blood. Just dumb stuff like that. Lou the caddy master, underrated and hilarious.
Also, as a writer too in this, so that's a great choice.
Yeah.
So I mean, so many of the things that we listed earlier on, including the baby Ruth scene, happened to him. So, way to channel the things that happen in your life.
Fun fact, Tommy, I'm blanking. Howie Mandel claims that he did that same exact Baby Ruth thing years before Caddyshack, and they're claiming they stole that idea from him as he said it on the radio, and he claims someone heard it and used it in Caddyshack.
Interesting. Well, I tell you this much. It's a funny scene. So they had to, I find this funny. They had to cut that for TV. Like if you look at, you can Google all the things that they cut out. They cut the Baby Ruth scene on TV. Like, I guess the implied poop was too much for TV at one point in time. That's very disappointing.
Right.
I mean,
well,
without
the 80s.
I mean, without that, everybody has to just, I don't know, the synchronized swimming becomes the highlight of the scene. I mean, just it's
useless. That they could have that should have been on the cutting room floor along with the gopher too. That I know it's only a minute, and thank God it's only a minute, but boy, you talk about a completely useless scene there in the meantime, just to do that and have a little classical music play in the background. No thanks. Unnecessary.
I did love the tomboy girl who you think is a boy the entire time, popping the hat off.
Yes, you. Yeah.
Yeah.
She pants him in the pool. That's funny.
Yes. All right. Chad, hidden gem.
I'm going with a super deep cut. So there's a guy out in the rowboat when Al is just going and terrorizing everything.
Yeah.
This dude has the best comedic expressions, and he gets this cartoonish eye bulge right as the boat's coming at him. That guy is great.
He is good. I think Chris Redd is another one of these comedians who has like this big-eyed, like, what kind of like appearance. Yeah. So, but you're right. He gets his little tiny rowboat destroyed so well. So my hidden gem, I'm going to go with John Barmon Jr., who is Spaulding. And I just think that this dunce-like character is so funny. You know, he takes the swing and he's like, farts. He's like, Spaulding, language. Double turn. Yeah, sorry, turds. Double turns. Spaulding. You know, are you going to eat your fat? Like, he vomits into the limo, and then the rich guy gets into his limo and then like slides down in there. I mean, everything.
He's not a member, Grandma. He's a caddy.
Yeah, I mean, he delivers these little bits through here, but I mean, this is a very underappreciated role. I'm sure, I mean, technically it has a name attached to it, but I enjoyed all the Spaulding stuff. And, you know, the picking his nose, and then like they double down in bed. It's like, double nothing, he eats it. It's like, you're on.
Love it.
So Spaulding, just humor follows him around everywhere. And you talked about, I could use a little more of this in the movie. I think I could use some more Spaulding in this movie. So,
him yakking in the open roof of the Porsche. Like, there were plenty of other places for him to puke, but he decides to go in the open.
You're right.
Open portion.
It's a Porsche.
And then of course, he the Dr. Beeper gets in, and I don't know about you fellas, but puke is one smell that you really can't miss, and that from feet away. The fact he just opens the door, gets right in, and that smell doesn't blast him in the face without him looking down first to go, that doesn't happen.
One tiny little element I want to call out here under Hidden Gem is Lou asked Danny to take over for him in his office at a moment. And inside the office there's a Coneheads poster. So
did not see that.
So that's I love Saturday Night Live. Obviously, Chevy and Bill come from the Saturday Night Live tree. So that's a fun little site find that you can find in there. Now, recast, and we make it, you got to play the game here, Kevin. So I know you love this movie, but if you had to recast somebody and put somebody else in their place, who's it going to be?
So my wife tries playing this with me all the time, and it's virtually impossible. And I only have a couple answers for this because, again, it's so perfectly cast. No one out there now has the ability to do it. And I only have two answers for you. Carl Spackler, Zach Galifianakis.
Oh,
Hmm.
well,
Ty Webb, Bradley Cooper. And there's nobody else out there. Maybe J.K. Simmons as Judge Smales. Maybe.
Oh, I would
That
enjoy
is
that.
Wouldn't that? I mean, J.K. Simmons is gold. But no one can touch Rodney. That is for sure. Maybe J.K. Simmons. But I think, and even Ty Webb's a little iffy. But Galifianakis is the closest thing I think out there can do that. So, but other than that, this film, Cedric the Entertainer even tried, as they threw it out there, like, oh, maybe I'll reboot Caddyshack. The online backlash was so vicious, it got shut down so hard. So thankfully it did.
yeah, that's not a good idea on that one. Chad, recast.
Yeah, this is the part where you guys can both call me an idiot. I want to recast Bill Murray. I honestly found his performance distracting. I didn't really find it funny at all. I want John Belushi in this role. John's still around with us for 2 more years, so stick him in. I think he'd do a very funny job with this.
Well, you just make me want John
How about
Belushi in addition to everything that's going on.
Isn't that cheating? Because I thought the premise was it has to be recast with today's characters.
No.
No,
It's
no.
actually, we usually go for the at the time. It's at
Okay.
the time.
All right, because I'm like, nah, that's not going to cut it. All right, well, I can't think of anybody else, and I got to get going here soon. So those are my answers. I'll still
Okay.
stick by them. But that's Belushi for the time. All on board with that one. Completely on board.
Michael O'Keefe is going to be mine, and I'm going to go back to the Animal House well here, and Amadeus here. So Tom Hughes. So
Okay.
Okay.
best shot, not necessarily a cinematic masterpiece here, Kevin, but what's your best shot of the movie?
There's so many. This is me copping out. There's so many. There's so many lines. There's just so many. It's not really a visual. If I had to pick you're saying a visual, then make it check.
Cinematic moment, like what visually, best
It
moment.
has to be
Yeah.
visually. Then it's Chevy Chase zipping up and down his flies as someone hot walks by.
Okay. Chad, how about you? Best shot.
Or actually, oops, sorry, I'll split it with this one, where Rodney goes, "Oh, looks good on you though," and those facial oh god, gross face,
Right.
Yes.
gold.
Chad, how about you? Best shot.
The giant explosions while the 1812 overture. That's just a spectacle and mayhem. I enjoy it.
We didn't really talk about this very much, but I like the scene where the bishop raises his golf club up in the air and right before
Yes.
he gets hit by lightning. And that's one of my visuals from this movie. He's not necessarily a big name character, but he's got Carl doing his caddy job for him. And the rain really starts to come down. I really love it when he's like, do you think we should keep playing? It's like, I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come down for quite a while now. So
Yeah.
that's just so good. And the frog jumps out of the hole. Like the ball goes into everything. The wind blows the ball back in. He's having the game of his life, and then he raises his golf club up in the air and gets hit by lightning. Love that lightning shot. So best scene. This is more of an entire scene here though. Kevin.
Again, there's so many. A lot of them are Rodney moments. A lot of them are Ted Knight moments. The best scene.
Is it the Rodney Dangerfield dinner where he just goes on
I tell you what,
machine guns like jokes?
That's great. I love when he's on the golf course for the first time, and it's when I was your age, I was looking at 5-6 flights of stairs. They say for Italians this is skilled labor. So the time he gets on the golf course and plays the music and they're dancing, hey, you want your driver? Hey, it's not my type. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. Yeah, give me my driver. All right, place your bets. That whole Rodney on the golf course for the first time, that's my favorite part because it's so quotable.
Yep. He comes in again
Hot.
on fire. He's just great. Chad, how about you? Best scene.
I like when Danny has to kind of reconcile with Judge Smales, and we've got the lamp in the way to start the scene, and they're just kind of dodging around the lamp until it gets thrown over. And then we get memorable quotes like, "Are you my pal?" Like, just everything about that is fantastic.
I like it. I'm with Kevin. This is very hard to choose from. So I think I'm going to pick something that was just branded to me as a kid. The Baby Ruth scene made me laugh so hard as a kid. And when Bill Murray's cleaning out the pool, you see that shot of him just in like a hazmat suit, and he picks up the bar and he looks over, it's like, sniffs it, and he goes, it's not that bad, and just takes a big bite out of it. And
Yeah.
what sells it even as an adult, again, is Mrs. Smales going like, oh, and falling over and fainting. So it's cartoonish, it's childish, bodily functions are funny, and I love it. So best wardrobe or makeup moment, Kevin. I have a feeling Mr. Dangerfield's about to make another appearance here.
Yeah, Rodney.
Awesome. Chad, how about you? Best wardrobe or makeup moment?
The Swiss Army knife of a golf bag. Just
That's good too.
I think you guys are really onto it because, I mean, it's just Rodney Dangerfield comes in. He comes in with that colorful sweater, the green polo shirt, the white hat, the white belt, the pink pants, golf bag, just red, yellow, and green. Like, he's all over the place. He's tacky, and it's perfect. It's just, he embodies everything Ted Knight hates, and it's just so good. So change one thing, Kevin, and only one thing.
The gopher out.
Gopher's out. I think we saw this coming. Chad, how about you? Change one thing.
get rid of Sarah Holcomb's Scottish accent or Irish accent. She's an American. You don't have to do that. You don't have to match it to whatever your real life experience is. Or get someone Irish to play her.
That is a pretty reasonable one. I struggled with this one. I said I want the lawnmower cutscene added back in there. I think, Chad, you texted me back and said it's a little bit on the long side. I think the scene itself would get edited because it's not, it's a deleted scene. But I want to see Chevy and Bill interacting again, and just the physicality of what Bill Murray is doing in that scene. It's awesome. So,
Agreed.
best quote. I know you've been machine gunning them all night long, Kevin, but if there's one scene if there's one quote that stands out above all the rest, and we know it's not going to be the Cinderella story for you. You've mentioned that this is not going to be it. What quote would you say is your favorite?
So many. Oh, I ain't paying no 50 cents for no Coke. Well, you ain't getting no Coke. No, I'm just kidding. That's a good one. No, it's got to be. It's a Rodney line. It has to be a Rodney line. I'll go with the easy. No, not the easy one. No, you want your driver? No, he's not my type. Perfect Rodney line, right up his alley. Give me that. But again, I could be sitting here picking one for days. So let's just go with that. And
we could ask you tomorrow and you'd give a different answer. I think that's a common thing. That
you can ask me in 3 minutes and it'll be a different one.
Yeah. I mean, I love it when Rodney Dangerfield he's going through the room, alienating everybody. That's all of those are just amazing. Now I know why the tigers eat their young, and oh baby, you must have been something before electricity. So I mean, all right, Chad, how about you?
I can't do a Rodney impression, but it's a Rodney line. $114 the hard way.
Yeah. See, there's another great. There you go. That one doesn't miss. Oh, the graveyard's 2 blocks that way. I mean, he's very funny. Can you make a shoe smell? Oh, should have been back in Boys. Back in Boys Town. It's great. No, I take that back. Here's my favorite line because I use it all the time. Scrub that one from the record. Like they say for Italians, this is skilled labor. Where they're carrying the golf clubs around. Love that line. That's always brings a chuckle to the table.
I'm gonna go with Rodney Dangerfield as well with the this is the worst looking hat I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What do you do? Buy a hat like this and I bet you get a bowl of free soup with it, huh? And then Judge Smales happens to be wearing that exact hat, standing right behind him. And as you mentioned, the eyes like, but it looks good on you, and just so good. My favorite Bill Murray line probably does have to be the Dalai Lama speech where he goes, so I got that going for me, which is nice. I guess the other half that was, on my deathbed, I will receive total consciousness. Kevin, do you want to remind people where we can hear more from you on the Gutting the Sacred Cow podcast?
Oh, great. My second favorite topic besides me. GuttingTheSacredCow.com is where you find all that information. We're on every podcast platform imaginable: Spotify, Apple, iTunes. That's the same thing, stupid. Google, YouTube podcast. Check us out there at GTSC Podcast on Twitter, Gutting the Sacred Cow Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Gutting the Sacred Cow at gmail.com if you want to say hi with us or advertise. But yeah, check us out. It's a once a week episode, an hour and change, where our guests pick a film they find overrated or hate and trying to convince us to see their point. But the twist, the film must meet one of these criteria: widely beloved, critically acclaimed, or a financial success. Gutting the Sacred Cow is the best movie review podcast out there, and We give a platform to those people with unpopular opinions about our most popular films of all time.
All right. Sounds like Chad needs to be on there for Caddyshack, but
Actually, real funny. Someone tried to do, because I know the guy who did it. We become friends with him through the podcast. He came on to do Caddyshack, to try and gut Caddyshack, and let's just say that it was an unceremonious death for him as he tried to gut that film.
yeah,
And it's still beautiful.
I do not want that smoke. No.
No. Good lay down. Good lay down.
All right. Now we've come full circle, and on a 5-star scale with half-star intervals, Kevin, what would you give Caddyshack from 1980?
Not a 35.5.
Nice. That sounds like a good.
It's a 5 out of 5. It's a perfect film.
I
The
can't.
rewatchability is through the roof. I watch it at least every year, twice a year, without fail. Every year for my fantasy football draft, people come over. That's the first thing that goes on when people start showing up.
It's a
So,
great
5
movie
out
to
of
watch
5.
with your friends for sure. Chad, what are you gonna do to follow that 5 up?
Oh man, I love listening to you guys talk about this movie and gush about it. I could do that for an hour and a half. I'm willing to go as high as a 3 myself. Like, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I don't get the classic feel.
Okay. I mean, I maintain this movie thrives on rewatch. So watch it twice a year, every year, like Kevin. Do your job, and just make sure that it's keep watching it over and over again. And we'll come back and we'll do this again after we've covered every movie, and we can amend that. So all right. And for me, I'm gonna give this, unsurprisingly, 5 stars. This is a top 5 movie for me. I love this movie. This is just so funny. I can't tell you how many times it's taken me in a bad mood and picked me up and put me in a good mood. I've enjoyed introducing it to people. I've enjoyed watching it with people. And anything you can return to that much and just puts that much joy in your life is truly special, beyond just what's on film. So I love Caddyshack, and I love that you, Kevin, wanted to come on here and cover it with us. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, guys, most importantly.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the time.
And Chad, do you want to help me pick a movie for next week?
Love to. So, Russell, we are going to the courtroom for our next movie selection. Got 3 courtroom drama movies for you. Option number 1 is Witness for the Prosecution, 1957. A veteran British barrister must defend his client in a murder trial that has surprise after surprise. Option 2 is Anatomy of a Murder from 1959. An upstate Michigan lawyer defends a soldier who claims he killed an innkeeper due to temporary insanity after the victim raped his wife. What is the truth, and will he win his case? Or option 3, Inherit the Wind from 1960. Based on a real-life case in 1925, 2 great lawyers argue the case for and against a Tennessee science teacher accused of the crime of teaching evolution.
Boy, these are all interesting ones. I've not seen any of them. Let's stick with that last one there, Inherit the Wind.
All right, oldies but goodies.
All right, look forward to finding that out with you. So whether that's any good. So, all right. Thank you, Chad. And thank you all the lords, ladies, and knights, the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you to reach out to us. We want to hear from you. So subscribe, rate, and review to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's mostly audio. Give us a like on Facebook, Instagram, or follow us on Twitter at @movie_retro. Email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com. And producing and providing this podcast is fun, but not free. So we invite you to support the show at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Retro Movie Roundtable. All contributions are much appreciated and will go towards making the show better for you, the listeners. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Chat.
Why don't you just go home? That's your home. Are you too good for your home?